Hello guys, it's Bleach from Bold Stroke Adventures, and we're gonna touch base today a little bit. I always say something different, but it is actually a little bit different. And we're not gonna talk about hiking, we're not gonna talk about adrenaline and adventure. We're gonna talk about something completely different. As you can see behind me, beautiful waterfall. It's a little bit dry season lately, but there is still some water flow. We are in the Beamer Falls, Ontario, Canada. And actually this is the upper fall. There is another one lower, Beamer Falls. Both of them are unique and beautiful. So as I mentioned earlier, we'll talk about something completely different. You're probably wondering what the hell I'm doing right now. And what do you think? What is this? This is my first aid kit in my backpack. And I'm not gonna walk you through what stuff I got inside. I got pretty much everything that you need while hiking for first aid, and it's not only for you, it might be for somebody else that you come across that will need the help. And I am going to talk about let me fucking find this stuff first. That's why it's very important at all times that you know in your backpack what you have, where, in which pocket. If you need it, you don't have to look for it. So I'm looking for something specifically. This is what we're going to talk about today. Can you read this? We're going to talk about aspirin. So why the hell we were talking about why we would talk about aspirin? Well, simple, because it could save your life. And many people already know that aspirin could save your life, but nobody knows exactly. I'm sure a lot of people do not know exactly how, in which way aspirin could save your life. Well, I'm going to try to explain in simple terms, so it's easily understandable, and we're going to step back a little bit, and we're going to talk about bleeding. So bleeding is a very dangerous business. You can lose your life bleeding to death. So it's very important to stop bleeding in the first stages. And there is a little bit science behind the bleeding. Actually, in addition to this, since my pack is already, first aid pack is already open, this is a military grade pack or pad that it's used to stop bleeding. So let me explain. So when you cut yourself, and we all did many times in the life, it doesn't matter if you are young, old, you know, playing as a kids, we all have some kind of cuts to the skin sooner or later in life, and it was very important to stop bleeding. And like I said, there is a science behind bleeding. When you cut yourself, of course, blood is gonna start pouring out, and it's gonna be an unstoppable process. And you know, first thing is first, do not panic. Panic is gonna increase your heart rate, and you're gonna bleed even faster. So the main thing is when you're bleeding is to apply pressure first. Depends on the bleeding. You might elevate your arm or your leg, but we said we're going to talk about simple terms, and we're going to go back to the aspirin. Bleeding, you have to put pressure. That's the main thing. If you go back in the history, in Vietnam War, that was probably the first time that was used something more significant. It was called, they didn't have those, well, maybe they did have those military style pads, but they used something better, and it was called super glue. And it's very simple. You need to stop bleeding. You need to make sure that your blood stays in the system, not out of your system. It's essential, and you got about 5 liters of blood in the system, and if you start losing more than 15%, you are in trouble. So if you lose 50, not 15, 50%, you're pretty much dead. And something very interesting, if you donate blood, which I did a few times, and because of the right reasons, and they will take about 10% out, and it's not a big deal. And you did something good, you did something positive, you did something that will save life to somebody else. Anyway, I'm just talking too much sometimes. It's very important to stop bleeding. So by applying pressure on a wound, what's happening then? Well, in your blood you have, beside other, white blood cells, red blood cells, you also have platelets. It's almost like a puzzle cells that is they're in charge for clotting the blood, stopping the bleeding. So when you put pressure, your body is gonna detect emergency, there is a bleed, there is a blood flow out, and immediately those blood platelets, they're gonna go to the injured area, and they're gonna be pretty much like a puzzle pieces. They're gonna start sticking together. It's almost like a river. Let's say a river. A river is blood vessel, and river is there is a lot of ice flowing on the river, and this is gonna be endless. It's just gonna be flowing and flowing. But if you put some kind of obstacle, like we would put pressure, you put some kind of log across the river, this is gonna start accumulating the ice, like your blood platelets in your bloodstream. So this ice is going to start accumulating more and more and more and more, and finally, river water flow is going to almost stop because all this ice build up. Same thing is happening here. Blood platelets, they're going to start like a puzzle, like a magnet. They're going to start sticking on your injured blood vessel, and it's going to be like a Spider-Man movies. They're going to start, there is a whole process, they're going to be start netting itself, gluing itself, like puzzle pieces stick to each other, and in about 5 minutes, as long as you got pressure, bleeding should really stop. If it continues after 5 minutes, then you need to take some other measures, or if you have a chance to see the doctor or call emergency. But if you are in the middle of nowhere, no panic, be patient, and keep applying the pressure, and hopefully bleeding is gonna stop. So 5 minutes is like a benchmark. So those blood platelets, so their job is to glue the wound, blood vessel, and stop the bleeding. It's very interesting process. So let's go back to the aspirin right now. Where the hell did I put the package? So This is actually baby dose. And how aspirin could save your life? We're talking about bleeding. Well, first of all, aspirin is not a blood thinner. And what's happening with aspirin is something completely opposite when you're bleeding, when you're trying to seal the wound and encourage blood clotting. In contrast, this is doing exactly opposite. So when you grow old and you do all these bad habits, pretty much it would apply to older generation. When you have all these bad habits, you know, you're smoking, you're destroying your, coronary system, your vessels become more hard. It's like, when you're cooking spaghetti, when you're young, your vessels are all, flexible and nice. And if you leave spaghetti neglected for a day or two, they're gonna go dry and brittle, and they're not gonna be as much flexible anymore. Same thing is happening with the blood vessels. They get brittle. That's why don't smoke. Don't abuse your system. You have only one system for the life. And also bad food. Bad food is gonna create a lot of wax in your blood arteries and cholesterol pretty much. And then something completely different is happening. All these bad buildup, it's actually internal in your blood vessels. So we're not talking about open wound. Now it's internal. And all these bad stuff are in the walls of your blood vessels. And what's happening is, at some point in the life, all that bad stuff, it's almost like when, ice is falling on the roof. It's not going to stay forever there. At some point, pieces of ice or snow chunks, they're going to break off. Same thing is happening in the blood vessels. Those pieces, the bad pieces, the waxy pieces, they're going to break off. But not only they're going to break off and continue flowing in your bloodstream, this is not the main problem. When they break off, they're going to injure your blood vessels wall from inside. Now your body is detecting the same problem. There is an injury with your blood vessel, and same thing is happening. You got those blood platelets quickly focusing in that area. It's almost like you're in the shopping mall or some place with a lot of people, and everybody coming in and out of the door, and then all of a sudden you got emergency, and everybody is going to the fucking door and you can't get through the door. Everybody is getting stuck. Same thing is happening with inside the blood vessel. Blood platelets, they immediately going to that place, injured from inside, trying to repair the blood vessel from inside. But this is the problem. Sometimes that blood clotting process is more than you want. And not only blood platelets, they're going to repair the vessel, they're going to keep building up inside more and more and more and more, and it's going to build up to the point that it's going to stop the blood flow from flowing to your heart or brain, or something that you don't really want, and you don't want to be getting heart attack or stroke. And then this is come into play. This is coming into play. You would usually feel symptoms, pressure, and there is a lot of other symptoms. I'm not a doctor, but I do know how especially aspirin or with bleeding, I know how the system works, and that's why I would like to share this with you. And you know, at that point aspirin plays a life-saving role. Why? Because it's gonna prevent your blood clotting, uh, unwanted blood clotting. Because if you have unstoppable blood clotting, the actual blood clot, this is what is gonna kill you. It's just gonna completely stop, you know, blood flow, and you are in trouble. So if you have any of those symptoms, you know, like a heart attack, or you know, pains, pressure in the chest, and just have a, you know, aspirin as a precaution. It's a baby dose. It's chewable. There was research done, and the quickest way to get into the system is actually to chew the tablet rather than drinking with the water. And this is gonna, you know, it will still allow your blood vessels to repair from inside, but it's gonna prevent unnecessary blood clotting, and it's gonna, you know, help you for blood to keep flowing from A to B. This is how it's gonna save your life, and it's very important that you take this quickly. And like I said, this is not a blood thinner, it's anti-blood clotting agent, in addition to other stuff. You know, it could be used for the fever, for the pain, but it is only 81 milligram life-saving pill. I already came across a few situations when I did advise individuals to take one, and it did help. And you know, you never know. One day I might take my own advice and take it as well. I'm sure it's gonna that day is gonna come sooner or later. But anyway, well, I hope you guys like this video, and please subscribe, and you know, as you enjoy this beautiful view behind me for a couple more moments. And you know, take care and stay safe. All the best.